All right. Okay. Well, this might be the biggest stage I ever, did do such presentations. Usually we go to industry conferences, much smaller, less fancy, not like this one. So I like the Art Academy very much. So thank you for inviting me, inviting Facebook to give a session to talk about what we can do for NGOs. I know a lot of the audience here coming from art and cultural background. The presentation is mostly for NGOs. I think some of the skill set might be also very easily transferable to you guys. And I probably will talk like for 35 to 40 minutes to go through the deck. And then we will have a sort of Q&A panel discussion, and feel free to jump in to ask any questions in the latter part. So my name is George Chen. My team handles all policy issues for Facebook in Hong Kong and Taiwan. Basically, the policy team handles relationship with government, legislators, NGOs, all the stakeholders that matter to us in terms of how we contribute to local communities and how we make the online platform safe, effective, and also relevant to you guys. So Facebook is a technology company. We are not a media company, we are not an art company. A lot of the art performers have content on Facebook distributed through Facebook. Many of you know the Facebook app, you will see the logo there, but some of you may know, actually, we also have a lot of other services, including Instagram, which is getting more and more popular among the youth. It's also a system brand service of Facebook. And by saying we are a technology company, because we're also doing a lot of things behind the scenes to keep the world more connected, especially for a lot of underdeveloped markets. Hong Kong is one of the most connected places in the planet, so you don't need to worry about connections, but I can tell you there are a lot of places like in the rural areas in India or in Africa, we still try to do our part to keep the world more connected. And to give a quick update on the global health check on how Facebook family looks like, we have more than 2 billion users globally, active users on Facebook, and also more than 100 million people using Facebook groups every day to communicate with group members, to talk about different things. I personally know there are also many active groups in Hong Kong. One group is called the Hong Kong Months. They share tips on parental tips, and there are also a lot of movie clubs among the Hong Kong users, which are all fantastic. And then in the right bottom corner, you will see the VR and AR icon, which the company, Facebook, very much keen to develop for the years to come. We believe that is the trend, that is the goal, to make a content as vivid as possible for user experience. I'll talk more about that in the latter part. We are also a very mission-driven company. I think this is the biggest difference I personally feel since I joined in January last year compared with many other corporates. We share the mission that we want to give people the power to build a community and also bring the world closer together. A lot of NGOs certainly play a key part in this mission to help us and work with us to keep the world more closer. And also, I mentioned we have over 2 billion users on Facebook nowadays globally. So among them, more than 150 million people at least like one NGO page. It could be a suicide prevention group. It can be a culture-related charity. And there are also a lot of social enterprises on Facebook. I'm just giving you a sense on how passionate people are on Facebook for different good causes. And because we know our users are so passionate about good causes, every year we organize a Good Causes Day. The past couple of weeks ago, we did it in Hong Kong, and this is how Teresa came to me and to say, hey, can you actually talk to HKAA for the annual conference? I said, well, I know very little about art and culture, but she persuaded me to say, well, I think some of the things the NGO want to learn might be also inspiring for our art professionals. And I said, yeah, sure. In Hong Kong, we have 5.3 million active users on Facebook, which is great because Hong Kong is one of the highest penetration markets for Facebook in the whole world. Penetration means I think we have like 6-point-something million internet users in Hong Kong. That is to say over 90% of Hong Kong people are on Facebook, so the penetration ratio is really high. And what matters most is, as I said, Hong Kong is one of the most digitally connected places in the planet. And among the 5.3 million Facebook users in Hong Kong, more than 90%, 5 million of them use Facebook only on mobile devices. Mostly smartphones and iPad, which I will talk about, the importance of small screen later in details. And this is the number I know you guys easy. Hong Kong people check 14 times on average. I want to have emphasis. I know many of you here maybe check more than 100 times. I have to do that. That's my work. But I just want to give you more sense, on how much Hong Kong people love Facebook, and other services. And let's also talk a little bit about Instagram. So I think some of you may know Instagram is actually also a Facebook company. It's a sister brand, 100% owned by Facebook. The difference between Instagram and Facebook, people always ask me, in short, Instagram focuses more on video, picture, visual arts, which is the main reason why a lot of celebrities, influencers, art galleries, museums are on Instagram to share beautiful things. Facebook is more general, more comprehensive. People talk about news, politics, sports, everything on Facebook. And in terms of the user base, you can guess, Instagram is more popular among the youth. So in Hong Kong, we also have more than 2 million Instagram users, which grows super fast. The number could be very different, if I come back next year. And the thing about Instagram is it is a truly international service. More than 80% of the users on Instagram are actually outside the US. That's why Instagram is like the international magnet for culture and art that people share different things from all over the world. And here's a great example. This is a charity called Charity Water. You can find it in Instagram account at Charity Water. So they share a lot of beautiful pictures. Not necessarily about the NGO is about sustainability, environment, water issues, but they share a lot of beautiful pictures to promote their good causes. I think they're also working on some partnership with Cathay Pacific in Hong Kong. And every year we used our big data to find out some interesting things. And Hong Kong people really like to check in whenever you go to university, restaurant, 茶餐厅, anywhere, even McDonald's, you want to check in and let your friends know where you are. Fantastic. So not to your surprise, airport is the most checked in place. When you fly in, fly out, tell your friends, families, and Disneyland, and so on. But the reason why I want to have the slide, this particular slide here, is to show how social media is relevant to our life, not just things that is happening online, but whenever you go, things happening offline. There's also a relevance to the digital world. And after I tell you all this, I think you are convinced that the world has changed a lot for the past decade. And I share you some charts, you will see more where I come from. People spend more time with digital and mobile, for sure, and the trend is inevitable. As I said at the beginning, Facebook is not a media company, but we help and we welcome publishers distribute different kind of content on Facebook and Instagram to reach your existing audience, your potential audience, and your global audience. The other thing is the whole evolution of social media, digital media form, very much is also related to the development of smart devices. And nobody will deny that people will have more and more powerful smartphones. And I know as a fact, in Hong Kong, I think people have more than two smartphones. That's not anything strange or surprising to you guys. And what does all those changes mean to NGOs or to nonprofit organizations, social groups, cultural groups? This is what the core part of my presentation will be about. I'll go through the 4 parts, talk about branding, content, how NGOs can take best use of social media to promote your goals, and also how to do good campaigns. Every time I go for such talks, people will ask me how can we partner with Facebook to do something together? And I'll give you some examples. We actually do a lot of things with local partners, and I hope you can be inspired by those past campaigns and see what we can collaborate in the future. So, anyone remember this? What happened in 2014? That summer, everyone in the planet was just crazy. Just had a bucket of ice and pour on your head. That is the most successful campaign ever to promote social good causes. My big boss, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, anyone probably famous in the planet, all joined this, and this becomes a global movement. And I think before 2014, we thought about Facebook can be used for many different goals, causes, but we didn't really realize how powerful our community is and how passionate our users are to launch such a global campaign. It started in the US and then it spread to the rest of the world. And I think 2014 was sort of a turning point. We began to realize and think more about how Facebook can do for NGOs. And brand is very important. Most of you here may be very experienced with usage of Facebook. Facebook usually has 2 types of presence. One is profile. Every individual can have a profile. This is more for your personal use. If you are a public figure, if you are an organization, you should go for a page for better and more transparent, open engagement with the public. In Hong Kong, we work with the Women's Foundation very closely, and I think if later you have time, you can go back to check out the page. You will see the overall presence of the Women's Foundation on Facebook in terms of logo, different campaigns from time to time, update. It's pretty a good example reference for you guys if you consider your own page and update on a regular basis. Content. This is the most important part, perhaps, for the whole deck. And this is my favorite slide. A lot of people think when you get on Facebook, say, for example, I live on Hollywood Road. There are a lot of galleries, right? So every morning when I go to work, I walk and I see all the galleries have a Facebook logo on the post or somewhere to ask people to like it. And then you may think okay, there are maybe 100 galleries on Hollywood Road. Does that mean the galleries on Facebook, they just need to compete with themselves? No, totally wrong. Once you get on Facebook, you compete with everybody, right? So the galleries don't just compete with the galleries. NGOs don't compete with NGOs. Companies, same way. You compete with all the interesting content. If Apple Daily has something more interesting, like a video that appears in your newsfeed, you spend more time to watch that video. That means you have fewer time and chance to see other stuff. That is why the social media changed the whole way how people do marketing, for NGOs or even enterprises to promote your brand. You are no longer like a Nike, compete with Adidas. You compete with all good, interesting, creative content. That's the whole point you need to keep in mind. And it's not just about likes. People always ask me, who has the most likes in Hong Kong, or which politicians do a better job? And I keep telling people, yes, likes are important. To some extent, it means you're popular, but engagement is also important. There are a lot of examples that you can have a lot of likes, but if you don't have a strong connection, engagement with your followers, days by days, weeks by weeks, they will lose interest in you. This is not something any page admin wants to see. If it's not about likes, then what is it about? It's about your goal. Every single time you post something on Facebook, no matter for your profile or for your page, you need to think about what is the goal for the post, right? Let's be honest. I also I'm a foodie, so I post all the interesting photos when I eat something interesting. I take a picture, I let my phone eat first, and I upload on it. And I try to, say, hey, but usually I write something to say, this is where I eat, and I think it's like a 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5 in terms of the rating. And my friends can comment, and they agree or disagree. Next time they can come. So I feel like there's sort of value-added information on it. But you need to think about what your goal is when you post something or when you launch a bigger campaign, and then you need to have a more solid plan on a sustainable basis. Usually for NGOs, the goals can fall into those 6 categories. Awareness is very important for NGOs. I see a lot of time, I talk to a lot of NGO people, and then they will say, I ask them, like, what is the biggest challenge? Like half of them will tell me, like, fundraising. I say, okay, fine, you need money, I get it. But then how much time you spend to raise public awareness of your good causes versus the time you ask people to donate? The 2 parts are relevant, right? I mean, you can't just launch 2 big fundraising campaigns, first half, second half, without the work that you do throughout the year to tell people why you need the money to support your good causes. So public awareness of something you care is really important. And it's a long-term public education process, and I think this is really what Facebook can help you to deliver the message to different audience. And volunteers, I see a lot of great examples that Hong Kong local groups call on volunteers basically at 0 cost to support something you care about. A couple of weeks ago, we had strong typhoon hitting Hong Kong and Macau. I read in the newspaper there was a girl who just basically called on volunteers to get all the resources, food and water together at the Gangou Matou, and then they collected resources and shipped to Macau. She just did everything on Facebook, and like more than 100 people showed up at the port, deliver all the stuff, and then they shipped it to Macau to those who in need. That's a great example of how people can make a difference. Donation, I already talked about it. It's digital era. You should leverage all things digital to help you to find the new channels for fundraising. I'm not against the fundraising, but as I said, you can't only talk about fundraising. Before you talk about fundraising, you need to spend more time on how to raise public awareness of the causes you care about. Email, if you have newsletter, Facebook is also a great tool to centralize sort of the marketing efforts. And events, especially you have offline events. I know this event particularly also does a lot of great promotion things on Facebook. People, I think one of your colleagues created an event on Facebook, and then my friends and my friends' friends who can click whether they go into this event or they are interested. Whenever people click on it, the information will be shown in your news feed, and you will know how many friends going to this particular event. It helps you to maximize the impact, spread the word. Last but not least, petition, which is very popular in civil society, in democratic society, and we see a lot of good things happening around the world to have a real democratic impact, a positive impact on the society. After I talked about goals, and then you also need to think about your target audience. Well, in some cases, you will say, yes, I want the whole Hong Kong society to know what I care about, 7 million people. You can do that, but you ask yourself, can we fine-tune your target audience a little bit? The more target it is, the more effective the message can be delivered. Whether you want to target some influencers, then talk to them. I know a lot of NGOs have ambassadors. The celebrities can also help you to spread the word. Or whether you want to, like a petition or something, you want to particularly target a politician, ask them to pay attention to a certain issue. Or the younger generation, or any business brands you want to team up with for a campaign. This is something also you want to think about. As I explained, my job also deals with a lot of politicians. This works well in the elections. When I'm just saying, for example, when a Kui Yiyun, a district councillor, would want to run for election, he may target very particularly for Wan Chai or Sapakwe, as you mentioned. So this is something you need to also think about, how to make your coverage more effective. After telling all this, the next part, I'll share some examples, cases with you to see how we work with different partners in Hong Kong to make some interesting campaigns. So back to the opening, I mentioned that we are a very mission-driven company. A couple of months ago, our CEO Mark wrote a 6,000 words letter, a very long letter. If you didn't read it, don't worry. So basically, I summarized the very long letter into the 5 parts. This is very much the policy team and also the company cares about in terms of how we want to contribute, like what do we want to focus is. We want to make Facebook a very supportive community, which means we want our users can support each other, take care of each other. Whenever there's disaster, a problem, or whenever you share the same vision for something, or it can be there's a musical and movie festival, and then people will talk about it, support local production, all things like that. Safety, we take safety very seriously. Last year, unfortunately, there were a lot of young kids committing suicide, especially students in Hong Kong. We worked with the university, other NGO Samaritans to launch the suicide prevention tool on Facebook. If you ask me, people are say, "Oh, can you really save life?" Any particular situation, I will say every life count. If we have more hope and more chance to do that, I'll definitely go for it. And inform the community. We talk about the quality of information, how we can make our community more credible, more reliable, and you have also high quality information in all forms. Civic engagement, I already gave example about elections, civic engagement. Facebook basically provides the direct channel for elected officials to have communications with the public, in zero distance. Our chief executive is on Facebook. We see more and more ministers on Facebook. Same trend is happening elsewhere in the world. Lastly, but not least, we very much support a very inclusive society. That is to say, our company value supports same-sex marriage, LGBT movement, and we ban hate speech, violence against to try to challenge a inclusive community on our platforms. So when you think about if there's opportunity for collaboration with Facebook, basically these are the 5 areas currently we try to focus on. If there's an interesting campaign to promote Hong Kong as a more supportive community, to ask people to take care of each other in terms of art or other forms, feel free to come to me, and I'm happy to listen to your ideas. Here we go. So I already mentioned the Women's Foundation. They are great. They are not like super rich. They are a very local organization. The CEO, Sumei Thompson, just left Hong Kong for another job in London. I think many of you here might also know her. We worked together to launch the She Objects campaign, which is based on a documentary film only for 1 hour to talk about why the society needs a positive image of women. And I think the movie was also featured in the Sundance Movie Festival in Hong Kong last year. We provide added credit to support, and the result was fantastic. So before the movie was released publicly, we helped them to promote the trailer. It was just more than a 1-minute trailer. And over 100,000 views happened on Facebook for the trailer 1 weekend before the public release. And that's the other campaign I just talked about. We want to make Facebook a safe community. That is why we work with different NGOs around the world, including Hong Kong, with the University of Hong Kong, Samaritan, and other NGOs for a campaign called 有困難我撐你, help a friend in English. So to raise the public awareness of suicide prevention. You should spend time with those who in need. And if you see suicidal signs of your friends, please give it a shout, and you can report on Facebook, and then we will reach to the affected person without disclosing who raised the concern with us, to send a nice message asking, hey, are you okay? Is there anything you want to talk to your friends, and connect the affected user with the friend. So we did online campaign and offline campaign. Then this campaign is related to what I just talked about the better informed community. We know how important the media literacy is, not just for the students, but also for the general public. This is why we held the first APAC News Literacy Group meeting in Hong Kong at the University of Hong Kong with the journalism school to talk about how we can balance freedom of expression on one side. On the other side, we also try to fight against those false news, misinformation, to make our platform more credible. This is something we also cooperate with a lot of foundations of corporates. For example, Swire is a large property company in Hong Kong. They provide the free venues to support the 15 NGOs, including, I think it's very diverse, Siu Tong Kun Yi Wei and other NGOs, to pull them together and have a one-day Yi-Mai to sell the products, and then raise the funds for different causes. And for us, we helped them to promote the campaigns on Facebook to get more people to come to Taikoo Fun, where the shopping places were, to get more traffic, attentions, to support the NGO work. And of course, there are a lot of global campaigns. We also bring, work with the NGOs to bring them to Hong Kong. I think last year it was the first time when we have the Earth 1 Hour campaign. It went on Facebook Live, so you will see. Even if you were not in alongside the Victoria Harp, you can see it from the WWF Hong Kong page on live, when all lights just went down, and then the ceremony began to raise public awareness of environmental issues. So based on those cases I just shared, here are the 4 takeaways you can perhaps keep in mind. One is I think I have a lot of emphasis on how content is important. As I said, you compete with everybody on Facebook. If you don't have creative content, if you don't have interesting stuff to show, and then you will be buried in the newsfeed for sure. And you need to have very clear goals for each post, each campaign. What is your plan? Do you have a content calendar to go through the whole thing, and how you can make it on a sustainable basis, rather than everybody can open a Facebook page. It will only take you 1 or 2 minutes, right? But then you open the page, you post something, and then you forget it. The next time you post it might be next year, which is useless basically. And how you can also make your efforts on, if you have a campaign, whether it's throughout the year, for 3 months, you need to have an ongoing plan, so people will not see it as a one-off effort. And last but not least, we are a technology company, we are an internet company, but we also very much care about what can happen beautifully offline, on the ground. Like the events we have today here, I don't just talk to you through the screen, I can do Facebook Live. No, people connection is still important, and you need the Facebook and other platforms to help you to promote the event, to get more people to come here, and then you can shake hands, exchange cards, know more about each other on the ground. So if you are more interested in the resources that Facebook can bring to NGOs, a lot of them are for free. This is the place you should go. We actually have a one-stop website to include all the resources, including most of the stuff I mentioned for NGOs. And for those who really want to become a Facebook expert, this is also the place you need to remember. We provide the free training online, which is called the Facebook Blueprint. You just need to sign up with your email, and then all the courses are for free, step by step, to teach you how to create a page, to more sophisticated solutions, such as how to fine-tune your target audience to have a more effective campaign. This will be the last slide that I show, and this is also my favorite. So you can see when Facebook was first founded, it was pretty simple and straightforward. It was just text, right? So if you go to Italy, and the only thing you can say on Facebook is, wow, Italy is a beautiful place, period. And then later, we began to allow people to upload photos and then share videos. Among the types of videos, we also have Facebook Live, Facebook 360, and also short-form videos like GIF and other forms. And the last part, which is a long-term goal, is the VR and AR experience. And I hope it is already happening. Maybe I forgot to mention in the beginning, you may know there's a company called the Oculus, which is also a 100% owned company by Facebook. And I think people do see Oculus as the VR technology leader in the whole world. You would probably see there are Samsung VR headsets that go with the Samsung smartphones. Samsung is the manufacturer, but the VR technology is powered by Oculus. So you will see the Oculus logo on the Samsung headset. This slide, the reason why I want to show you is technology is always evolving. Like last century, we first had the radio and then TV, and then now moving on to digital media. So you need to catch up with the changes as the world is also changing, and the world is changing faster and faster. So I'll leave with that. Thank you very much for your attention, thoughts, and we will move on to the Q&A session, and you can have more questions for me.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chen. And I'll join Mr. Chen for a little discussion. So maybe we can take a seat over there. Yes. I have a burning question that I need to ask. A quite selfish one, because I used to work in a theater company, and I believe a lot of us, our companies, we own a Facebook page. So when we started a Facebook page, we attracted like 1,000 likes or 1,500 likes, and we were so happy, so excited. But after the kicking off, we kept like updating once a day or at least 2 or 3 times a week. But then we got like 1 like, or if we're lucky enough, we'll get like 3 likes. So I understand like what you said is not about the number of likes. It's about like if we have our goals or what we are planning to promote ourselves. But in your opinion, what's going wrong? Because I believe it's quite a common thing in our industries that the pages, we don't have a lot of likes, and that really bothered me because we live in a Facebook era. So do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So I know a lot of, so when people launch a new Facebook pages, you will definitely put a lot of efforts into it. You know, I work with a lot of ministers. Some of the ministers are setting up pages these days, and I know before they launch it, they ask everyone in the team to prepare content for the first few weeks.
Yes, we did.
And then after that, you know, it's kind of like the momentum thing. So I do see, you know, sometimes after a couple of weeks, like the content is going to be less interesting in a way, which will also affect the engagement, the stickiness with your followers. But having said that, I did want to emphasize, you know, likes is not the only goal. The case I used in my presentation, the Women's Foundation, I think they only have 5,000 fans. But how did they get like more than 100,000 views over the weekend for the trailer? We did help them to boost using the ad credit, but they also did it very smartly because it was a documentary film, right? So there was some celebrities, scholars, influencers featured in the film. So they emailed everyone to ask all the KOLs in the documentary to help them to spread the word, share the post. That certainly helped. You know, some of the KOLs have like a 10K or even 100K fans. So it's like a times impact rather than just rely on your 5,000 fans for their page.
So it's okay. So you remind me about the key opinion leaders. Do you think it really play a very important role in today's Facebook era?
I think so. Hong Kong has a very interesting culture. You know, everybody wants to chase KOLs. You know, I know the brands also feel like whenever the KOLs repost something, it will go viral. And then someone told me the KOLs also has another definition, which is king of likes, KOL. Huh. So to some extent, that is right. But I will also say, again, back to the content, right? If the content is not that interesting, you ask the KOL to help you to share once, twice. But you know, first, the KOL needs to care about his, her, or her own reputation, right? If it's too commercial, if it's too hard selling, that also hurts the credibility of the KOL, him or herself. Secondly, if the content is not interesting, say, oh, hey, come here to buy a ticket. If just that straightforward without any additional colors, and then people will look at it. Okay, fine. So next time they won't bother to even look at the post because you will just browse very fast to the next post. So it's back to the content. I think you'd rather rely on KOL. You should more think about how you can make a content as the king.
Thank you, Mr. Chen. So I've finished my question to answer my burning question. So I'll now open the time to the floor. So any of you here would like to have 1 or 2 questions? Yes?
I've got 3 very straightforward technical questions for you. Point number 1, is it true that postings that contain video are likely to be less favored because people use overwhelmingly handheld devices, therefore they use up memory? So it might be counterproductive. That's question number 1. Question number 2, is there any measured way of the effectiveness of boosting? Any measure? Never mind that you get 3,000 hits. Is there any way in which you can measure the effectiveness of boosting, particularly in terms of engagement?
Sure.
Okay.
Great question. First, the question is, so in short, you know the newsfeed, we talk about the algorithm, right? This is how the newsfeed works, why different people see different things. It's hard to generalize how things work, but I can tell you, remember my last slide, text, picture, video, and eventually, hopefully, we can go to the VR stage. That is also the ranking of the importance of content. That is to say, if you post a picture, the chance the post, of course there are other factors, but I'm just saying, like purely if we talk about type of content, picture will perform better than a text post. And then video will perform better than picture, and so on. So you are right. The attention for text post will be weaker than pictures. Second question about the measurement. Let me finish the part of the answer first. The measurement so this is the huge difference between Facebook profile and Facebook page. Profile is for individual, so you can't really see the insight of how your profile performs. But if you are doing a page, you will see there's an insight part. Even if you don't do any ads on Facebook, you can still see how your page performs in general terms. For example, when is the busiest hour, like the best hours for your fans to read the post, whether it's before midnight or during the commute in the morning, or other informations. And then when you go to Facebook advertising, it's more sophisticated, and then you will have a Facebook ads manager which can give you more data and information. But I come from the policy team, so I'm not sales guy. No matter you buy ads on Facebook or not, this is not going to affect my bonus. So I'm very honest with you. But if you are interested, you should check out the Facebook for Business page. There will be more information.
I don't want to dominate the discussion, but I'm afraid you didn't really answer my question. I guess the real effectiveness. Third point is the following. Our site has got 5,000 friends. Okay, so we're up at the limit. To be precise, it's 4,985. Okay. Now, each time I mount something, okay, how come I don't get 5,000 indications that this thing has been seen? Because if I have 5,000 friends, and I put up a post, okay, it appears automatically on their timeline. So what's the difference between boosting it and simply having a lot of different friends? Explain this to me.
If I understand your question correctly, you're saying you have 4,000 some fans, and then when you boost, you can reach more people?
I'll have to see you separately because it is quite technical. Sorry.
Okay,
I have 5,000 friends.
Yeah.
I put up a picture of my pussycat or my baby daughter, okay, on the page. All right. And then I get 25 hits. I get 17 hits. Now, the moment that I put up the picture, that picture appears on all the timeline of my friends. Right? Yes or no?
Technically, yes.
Technically, yes. Okay. Whoa. I mean, technically, yes. It should. Otherwise, what's the point of having 5,000 friends? Okay.
If you scroll the news feed, I mean, if your followers just go non-stop.
Then what's the, I don't understand, then I put up the picture and I only get 25 or 300 or 400 hits.
Again, it depends on how the algorithm works. Picture works better than text, but you also compete with other content on the platform I just
showed. But the picture appears automatically on their timeline. There's no option about this. They have to see it.
But I don't understand.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I think technical questions we can discuss offline, but yeah.
So maybe a little follow-up question. So does that mean the difference between a profile and a fan page, say for example, is that for a fan page you are able to have statistics of the people that follow?
That's right. You cannot boost your profile.
I cannot boost my profile.
Yes, only advertising is only for page.
All right. So if I pay for a Facebook ad, so I'm only
That's for
able
page.
to Facebook.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if that answers your question, or do you wish to have follow-up question, or maybe some technical questions we can share it during the coffee break. All right. So any other burning questions over there? Yes, the lady over there.
Yeah, I told our former chief executive the same thing. Page can do much more than profile.
Hi, I have two questions. So one, I think maybe is a little bit of a follow-up of the previous one. I think building, growing the audience and growing followers, I find it really difficult, and I feel that my Facebook page manager, the app, it always asks me to place ads to boost posts or boost the page. So I'm just wondering if it is a must to put in. I mean, I've done it before, and there are a lot of different options on how much money that you can spend. I mean, in the ad plans. But I wonder if it is a must to buy ads in order to grow your appearance.
No, the answer is no. It is not a must for you to buy ads to boost your popularity. As I shared in the presentation, I mentioned there was a very touching story. The woman set up a page to ask people to collect resources for the post-typhoon support for Macau. She didn't do any ads to do it. And
I think that case is very different and very specific, because that was an urgency. That was something that a lot of people can identify with. But then, as a non-profit, I mean, sometimes you have to promote your programs, or you do other promotion that is related to what you're doing. And a lot of the times, I mean, you don't have such you're not doing this kind of, I mean, that example that you just mentioned. So I guess in my experience, I just find it quite difficult. And the second question is about the algorithm of Facebook. I find Facebook very localized, and a lot of audiences, it really depends on your personal network. So if most of your friends are in Hong Kong, then whatever you post, it reaches a local audience. But then compare with other social media platforms like Twitter. I don't know if I'm correct, but it seems that like Twitter, I know the nature is very different, but it seems that if you want to reach an audience outside of Hong Kong, then you will have to you have to try using other kinds of platforms.
Sure.
So I want to know about the if we want to reach an audience outside of Hong Kong on Facebook, how do we do that?
Sure. So first thing first, it is not a must for you to buy ads to become popular. Again, I really want to emphasize, content does matter. I can tell you a lot of stories, small business, in Hong Kong, how they grow from scratch. There was, I forgot the name, but it was featured in a magazine. I actually don't know the owner at all. There was a local snack shop founded by local Hong Kong university students. They began to promote the snacks on Instagram with some nice pictures. They did ask their friends to help them to share, basically mouse by mouse, right? And they succeeded very much. And in the end, they set up their first shop in their neighborhood. I read it in the press. The ads can also help in many ways. There is a company called Casetify, a local homegrown startup which makes the smartphone cases, right? They didn't have a shop offline. They started everything online, e-commerce. They used Facebook to do marketing. And then eventually, they didn't have a shop. I just saw the shop in IFC in partnership with Smart Home. I'm saying not just Facebook. There are a lot of other platforms. We see ourselves as part of the digital economy development. But for individual, if you talk about public figure, it's the same in the older times when celebrities try to compete with each other to publish CDs, albums. You say, hey, my album has 90 minutes. Her album has 90 minutes. Why her album goes more popular? So there are a lot of reasons behind it. I can't just say, hey, I create a page. You create a page. And why my page has 5 more fans than you? For the second part of the question, I think I want to clarify, profile versus page, huge difference. Profile is more for your friends. You make friends, with each other on Facebook. So if you have more international friends, you probably will see more news about outside Hong Kong. Pages, there are many ways to, if you want to particularly promote the pager to the US, to Southeast Asia, you can certainly do that. But profile, you can't do it. And when you see the news, I believe you see the news when you use your profile, because you have to have a profile as an account to access. So the news feed are very much based on your friends, your likes, preference, interests, and other factors for your personal reference.
Well, it's not a question, but a suggestion. You hear some question, and I'm the third. We are not Facebook's expert. I mean, younger generation, they're younger too, but generation, they're born with it, sort of. If you have a seminar, that you can, and they ask us by Facebook. I sign it up, and they come and ask question, and then you can help us, and then put a case study. Okay, okay, and then if you can have an advisor, a consultant, I'm sure there are a bunch. We can just, we don't know which one to go.
Right.
We even don't know who to go to, who are good. If you have a certified consultant, for instance, and at least you guys recognize the quality. I said, oh, okay, those guys are good.
Sure.
And they specialize for art. I go for him or her.
No, totally. So we love to work with NGOs. As I said, I think our mission is to keep the world closer together, and I think NGOs around the world play a big part in this mission. This is why I'm not sure if you missed the early part of my presentation. On August 17, we did our once-a-year Facebook Good Causes Day in Hong Kong. Just last week, we flew to Taiwan to do our Good Causes Day in Taipei. But as you can imagine, I hear you. I think that's a great suggestion. I will certainly bring back to my colleagues. Maybe we can do it twice a year rather than once a year to reach more people. But so this is actually the good thing I want to hear. So the Hong Kong society has so much interest in Facebook, especially NGOs, social enterprise. Whenever I go, they will say, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that. And I say, oh, did you miss our last workshop? And they say, yeah, I didn't know that. So partly I blame myself. I should really spread the message wider and louder. Here's the thing. So next year, I'll tell Teresa. Where's Teresa? So I will make sure, Teresa will at least make sure the HKAA-related NGOs informed of our 2018 Good Causes Day, and welcome you guys to visit our office.
It's great, but once a year is not enough. So I'm just here to very demanding, but on behalf of my
sure, definitely
my friends here.
Yeah, I think it's good to know the civil society here, NGOs here are more interested in us and than in some government workshops.
No, you guys are essential.
Thank you.
Essential. Facebook is essential mean for NGO for promotion and marketing. Essential. Live and die. Seriously. So that's why I definitely wanted to learn, but I don't know where to start.
Thanks.
Okay?
And hopefully we've successfully linked up a possible seminar next year. Yeah, so any more questions from the floor? We still have room to allow one last question. Yes?
Actually, I have two questions. I'm Willis from HKU. The first question is that you mentioned we should keep updates the page. How about if I have like an annual event which is once a year? Should I open a new page every year or should I use the same page?
Okay.
Also, for maybe I have different categories of things to share. For example, cultural, sports. Should I use same page? Because I see many institutions start to like categorize their page. Oh,
Sure.
this is
Sure. Great. You certainly shouldn't update once a year if you have just one festival for that particular week, that's for sure. There are a lot of festivals, like the Art Basel, right? They host in different countries, once a year. But you see when Art Basel come to Hong Kong, of course, the page will be more active. But even after Art Basel Hong Kong finish, they will still share a lot of information throughout the year, right? Sometimes an interview with an artist who was featured in previous exhibitions. Same for you guys. I don't know which festival you talk about, maybe a movie or something. You can certainly find a lot of content to update, to keep people informed throughout the year. And that's the whole point. You need to keep the page active, so the algorithm will also get familiar with you, and then there will be better chance for you to engage with the users. The second question about the categories, it really depends. I can give you one example. A lot of media companies like Hong Kong Lingye or even Pingguo, they will open a lot of sub-pages, right? It's a brilliant idea. And I think Pingguo was the first to open a page dedicated to Facebook Live. I think they have a Pingguo Live or something. So that is the page where whenever Apple Daily reporter goes to something to do live, and then the live will go on that page. And then the Apple Daily parent page will repost that live page to its main page, right? So the main page can help to get more attentions for the sub-channels, kind of. So that is the way how we see, it really works for the media companies, and I think it's also a good reference for you guys.
Also, a very short question. You mentioned about the Facebook search function, and I find it's not very user-friendly. Why I say so? Because I can't even find a page like it's about Hong Kong youth, for example. I can't find other department, but I find very global result, which is not localized.
University of Hong Kong, yes. I personally verified that page because I'm also a graduate of HKU. HKU came to Facebook a little bit late, I will say.
Sorry about that.
No worries. No, I told the president's office too, but I mean, compared with other famous universities in the world, I wish HKU can come to Facebook earlier, and then you should have a much larger fan space than nowadays. But when you search, make sure you will also choose the different type of search results, like you search people, or you search page, you search photos. I know if you search HKU under the pager category, the verified page is now on top of the results.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So maybe we'll have time for one last question. Anyone who's got really burning questions that you would like to ask right away? Oh, yes,
that
over there.
Gentleman.
Yes, the gentleman. Yes.
Let me just finish with the technical question.
Sure.
Very simple. I have 5,000 friends. wait.
You very insist.
I put up a photograph. Okay. 2 hours later, 300 people have seen it. Okay, what's the difference between the 300 people having seen it and the fact that having 5,000 friends, my photograph would have appeared automatically, because they are friends, on their newsline? Why it's not 5,000 and I say 300, I'm just making it up, okay? Why?
I think you talk about your page, not
I'm talking about
not
the page.
profile,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's not your friends. It's likes.
I automatically publish it on my timeline also.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So the timeline and the page now got appealed to exactly the same number of friends.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So in short, here's the thing. You have 5,000 likes. Technically, if all the 5,000 followers of your page non-stop screw down the phone, technically they will see it. But few people do it, and that's why only 300 people among your 5,000 followers.
What do you mean see it? The Facebook is very evasive of what a hit really means.
See means the post appears on your screen and you really see it.
Meaning what really see it? Spend 1 microsecond or half an hour on it?
Well,
There's no definition. Because when I boost, I get
Yeah.
exactly the same. Now 5,000 people have seen it. What does that mean?
The views, look, there's very specific measurement analysis in the ads manager if you have done it. But look, so I apologize if my answer are not very satisfying to you. I'm not engineer for measurement issues, but I understand if the post appears on your friends, like members, followers newsfeed, it's considered the seeing. And for video, it has more specific measurement on how the videos are calculated as viewers. And you will find it in the measurement Q&A page. All right.
No, not all right, but never mind.
Well, I believe we still have lots of burning questions that we may find it interesting to ask Mr. Chen. But first of all, please give a round of applause for Mr.
you.
George Chen for giving us a wonderful presentation.